I did it purposely when that wasn't recorded, to tell you that.
Has the tech come back on? Great. All right. I didn't print that particular page from the agenda, so our next item of new business is a presentation from Greg Turner of
Yes.
Bert Anthony Associates. The agency has been considering acquiring some insurance coverages. We do have money in our budget. Kate has been really taking care of that. So why don't I turn that agenda item over to you?
Sure. In light of, recent events, the port litigation, as you know, and some other things, had us take a look at our insurance. We're currently covered under the town of Bethlehem's policy. It's not uncommon that IDAs have their own policies and pay for those. So toward that end, I had asked, I reached out to the current carrier who has the town's insurance and asked for some quotes on our general liability and also our directors and officers insurance. And so Greg has agreed to come today and talk a little bit about the proposal and the quotes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The town has covered the IDA under their blanket policy, the primary liability and the umbrella liability for many years. I've been here through 7 administrations, and knock on wood, there hasn't been any issues in that 30-year period. But again, it is prudent to consider standalone coverage. The downside of having the coverage written under the town's policy is there's a potential erosion of coverage for other claims that the town might incur throughout the policy term. Presently, there's a primary limit of $1 million and then a $10 million excess coverage. So there's $11 million in any one occurrence covering the IDA. I've gone out to market and solicited a number of quotes for the standalone coverage. And I've got copies here. I don't think I've got enough for everybody, but there's copies of the proposal in here.
I did send them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would welcome a hard copy.
Yeah, I would like that.
Okay. Well,
You
here's
did the work, we'll take it.
And there's an assessment copy of the policy as well.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's cold.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, sure.
So what you'll find in these handouts is a recap of the proposals that I was able to obtain. These 3 carriers, Chubb, which is, there's a primary limit of $1 million of coverage on all of these. And then excess coverage if you wanted to consider that. But the Chubb proposal was for $1 million worth of limit and a retention of $10,000 was $5,000 in premium. The deductible or self-insured retention is the amount incurred the IDA would be responsible for in the event of a found liable in each situation. The professional governmental underwriters offered 3 levels of coverage, $1, $2, and $3 million at a $5,000 deductible. And those are the respective premiums, $2,000, $3,500, and $5,000. Excess liability, those are the maximum limits that those carriers would write as a primary limit. The excess liability coverage is through has Kinsale Insurance, which would provide up to $7 million of excess coverage. They require a minimum underlying limit of $3 million, and the annual premium is $10,000 for that. The Chubb is an admitted carrier in New York State. Professional governmental underwriters, their carrier is admitted in New York State. And then Kinsale is a non-admitted carrier, meaning that they do not have to comply with the New York State statute. The coverages all include full prior acts. These are a claims made policy form versus an occurrence. Claims made means that the incident has to be reported within the policy term or 60 days thereafter. The occurrence-based policies, that's not necessary. You can have a claim brought for prior acts years ago as long as the coverage was enforced. They're all A-rated carriers, A+ rated. Chubb is A+ rated. Professional Government Underwriters is also an A+ rated company. And the Kinsale is an excellent or an A-rated company. That's a brief summary of what the proposals would be. You've got a copy of the coverage form in there. They're all reasonably broad in coverage and written with common language. The professional government underwriters is what I would recommend you consider. The limits are, that's subject to your discretion.
One of the reasons why I took a hard look at this, because I have an unfortunate past in insurance defense. So when, we were served with the port litigation, we had to tender that to the town's insurance. And as Greg said, that's a blanket policy for everything that the town, is insured, and it becomes decreased by other claims. Plus, we're doing high value projects now. So I really thought our exposure, because of the value of some of these projects, probably we should take a look at, what our coverage is and what seems reasonable for doing. I mean, 85 million over 5 years is just one example, and you have other projects potentially that could be higher value. So, I just wanted to take a look at that. Directors and officers, and errors and omissions, it's much different than general liability. It's for other specific things to your duties, as a board. So right now we're talking about general, right? Or is that the quotes for everything?
No, the general liability is a separate.
Oh, okay.
exhibit
So this-
in here.
Okay.
And that's a modest coverage. That's your slip and fall coverage if something were to happen.
So this doesn't include D&O?
No, D&O is separate, correct?
My comments up to this point have been on the D&O, the public
Oh,
officials
okay.
liability.
Okay.
Yes or no?
So this is the D&O, and then the general liability is separate from it.
Yeah, there's a general liability exhibit in the handout as well. That's the nominal premium. $620 for $1 million limit and $700 for a $2 million limit. Again, that's the slip and fall type of liability, not for your access to the board here. Actually,
Yeah.
both quotes include the hired and non-owned auto. That was the coverage that protects the individuals who use, the members of the board who use their own vehicles for IA-related business. If you're involved in an accident, you can bring that into play.
See, did you know any of this? I did, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, I think $1 million on that is definitely probably sufficient, but it depends on, the quotes, and if it's X dollars more for another $1 million in coverage, then, that's a decision you'll have to take a look at. But,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah, right. It's usually the way that it is, Any other questions?
Yeah,
Sure.
I have several. First, now that with it, in the D&O, do we have D&O right now?
Yes, on the
The
town.
idea is.
We're covered under the town.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so if we were to get this, will we still be covering the town also? We still be named insured?
No,
Why not?
because you've got a duplication of,
Is there a retention on the towns?
yes, 10,000.
Okay, so there's a retention on the town, 10,000 on the town also.
Yes. defense is first dollar. Defense is not gonna erode.
So the only reason we would do this is because of the limitation of insurance on the town?
That, and I don't know enough, and this is how the discussion started. I really couldn't get much information from the town, even on whether defense costs were inside the premium or they were outside, or sorry, the coverage, or they were outside. Do you happen to know the answer to that?
If they're outside limits.
Right. So when that happens, you know, you want the fees outside so that you're not taking up some of your coverage that you have to pay a claim. You want plus defense costs, right? So, I'll let somebody have a question. So in this case, yes, the town has, our coverage could be limited under the town depending upon, you know, what goes on there. I mean, the town, the police, there was several parties named in the port litigation. So that's what really, I was like, okay, hold on a second, right? And if there was ever a claim there, it would have been a real claim. It would have been, you know, paying out on everybody.
But on DNO, there's no DNO claim on that. There was originally, but nothing on the port, there's no DNO claim.
It's hard to know what port litigation with the, sort of, yeah, there is, yes. The cause of action under the port would lend itself to decision-making and relying on the town seeker process. So it would be your official review of the project. So yes, that's what it would fall under.
So we get $1 million for $5,000, that doesn't sound like much coverage.
Right, we should get 3 for $5,000, which is the second one, right?
Correct.
Okay, 3 for $5,000. We got
I
$1
mean,
million,
that's a lot of legal fees.
and we got $1.6 million in the bank.
Right, but you don't want to pay that
Yes.
out on a claim,
We're just
right?
kicking off $20,000 a year in 5% CDs. This is
No, I
huge.
understand. I just am trying to figure
Right.
out,
What the best one is.
well, I know what the best one is. It's just, if we're already covered, you know, I just,
I think the thought is that this is our coverage.
Right.
There could be, and I don't, crystal ball, but we could be involved in a project with of course, the towns, and we become adversarial with the town for whatever reason. I can't imagine, but
Yeah.
but then we have our own insurance, the town, yeah, we're not relying on somebody that's mad at us at the time. So every other idea I've ever worked with, always had.
I'm not, but we serve at the pleasure of the town.
Oh, no question, us do all the ideas elsewhere, they always serve the pleasure of the appointing body, but that doesn't, if you get disappointed tomorrow, as opposed to appointed, if something happened a week ago and then a cause of action happens, and now you're in adversarial positions.
I'm also trying to protect the 1 point, and plus, you know, you could be at 2 million here with additional,
Yeah.
if you have plug 2, you have, you know, PSEG, I mean, you know,
Well,
when you have cash,
consider they fire us, we can't access, we still need defense. For you know, if we're not serving at their pleasure anymore, we still need defense.
Oh, that's an interesting question that we probably want to think about if they did sweep the board.
Right, I mean.
But truthfully, the board gets sued in official capacity if you exit the official
Yeah.
capacity.
right, but that's the whole point.
Yeah,
Like, we still want to be able to own our destiny and have
Yeah.
some. Like, if we can't access our existing cash, but we had this policy in place, I don't know, I mean, it'd be messy. But this sounds like it gives us slightly more, I'm highly in favor of doing this, and I would vote today to
I'm
bind.
not against it.
I mean, so,
No, I
yeah,
understand.
so, happy to understand sort of other questions or keep my mouth shut, but, I'm excited to get additional insurance coverage.
I've never heard anyone
Yeah.
say that. I love it, but I've never heard anyone say that
Well,
before.
we come from the same tribe, that way.
Well, you know, and maybe I don't want to put Chris on the spot, but lately, at least with my clients, there's now lawsuits, right? It could be breach of contract, it could be something goes wrong with the project, it could be board related in your decision making, all of that. And I've just seen, or out of nowhere, we're involved in a project, sort of, right? Like the port, and it was just a nuisance, really. But, and the fact that, John worked with me to tender it to the towns, but the only thing I really got back was, thank you. There's no coverage really for something like this, which I kind of knew, but again, we don't know what the coverage is until we were just told, So between the possibly being sued for a number of things, the amount of cash that you have, the amount of projects and the activity and the uptick in the value of those projects, I just thought it'd be prudent for you to take a look at it and see what you thought. That's all.
One perhaps dumb question. I saw something in here about not having any cyber insurance in these policies. Is that
That's just pretty much a standalone coverage. It's not provided by your normal liability.
and I don't know whether the town covers that or what, but I've had clients recently that have had major cyber problems. And we deal with a lot of confidential information.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And we are really off the town systems at this point.
Right.
So we probably should have something in cyber protection, a minimum, because we're on the cloud now.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think we've had phishing strikes, with the emails and things. So that's a really good point. So that we can add. I mean, that's not. And what about, we really don't have employees per se. We just have contractors.
Right.
So the EPLI doesn't make much sense unless you think it does, but.
No, it doesn't. That's not it. I would not suggest we have that.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm clear. We are currently now covered by the town, correct? And you said they're bound to cover us? Did I hear that correctly? Or?
I don't believe I-
Okay, so I guess I can envision two potential scenarios. One, the town has a major claim against it and eats up most of the coverage. And if 6 months later we're sued, there's no pot of money to cover us, correct?
And the planning board sued
Right,
and
right.
the
But
fire.
then
Yeah.
there is the reverse also true, that if we get sued independently of the town, can the town cut us off from their insurance coverage? So that they're not going, they're no longer liable to protect us if we have a major suit against us under the current policy.
Well, there's no precedent there. You would still be afforded coverage under the policy. Going forward, I don't know if the town would take an action, take a position, they don't want to continue to,
Right.
Okay, but for that particular incident, they would have to.
they'd have to honor that.
they'd have to-
And
Are you-
we would decrease their pocket of money that was.
Oh, no, exactly.
Yeah.
The limitation is not, it's claims paid, not claims made. Right? It's claims paid, not claims made.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they'd have to pay out before we get cut off, or we'd have to pay out on us before they get cut out. It isn't, they get sued for $200 million and they're out of insurance. They defend that.
Right. Okay, I understand. But we are sort of tied at the hip that.
Well, if you paid, if claims are paid.
I think there are two issues. One is what kind of coverages make sense for this organization in this environment. And the other is consideration of the fact that we are supposed to be an independent and objective agency, and we are appointed by the town board and we are responsible to them, but we are supposed to maintain independence. And it may be that delinking our insurance further creates independence for us to make the decisions that we believe is right and not have to think, oh, would we be covered not have that come into our decisions that we're tasked with making.
But we are a town board, created by the town.
Created by the state. The town asked for
The
us.
town-
I don't
the
need to
state
tell you that.
authorized us- Authorized the creation of the town created.
So yeah, that relationship is there. What I'm talking about is that over the years, they have given us a great deal of independence out of respect for the work that this board has done. And I like to continue that.
The only thing I would add here is that when we're confronted with insurance questions, and typically they're on the liability side. You know, our typical papers are $1 million primary, $5 million excess for general liability. Sometimes we get pushback from the project applicant on those limits, and what we do is we refer the insurance broker for the IDA or the municipality and ask them what their recommendation is with respect to limits. And I don't know, sir, if you have a recommendation from the board with respect to the limits on this policy, because I think that might help their decision making.
Well, you can never buy enough coverage.
That's why we should remain on this. Both.
The fact that the defense limits are
Thanks, Jeff.
outside of the, defense costs are outside of the limits is a big cost.
Right.
I'd like to see you carry a couple million, you know, whether that's, what is it, 3 million, did you say that?
Well, right, for this, 3 million for 5,000, but this is for DNO, for directors and officers, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, the
Can we do
GL
that?
is, the GL is, you know,
Up to
Right, this
maybe
is-
700.
This helps us.
And it would
We can
cover
talk
that.
to council, so we don't have to deal with, like, I don't wanna deal with talking to, or not being able to talk to a lawyer who's representing us. Because they're answering to the town, because the insurance flows through the town. I don't wanna do that. I want our own counsel. Because they represent us.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it.
oh, well, he wouldn't, it would be insurance defense.
I know.
Plus,
Well, I mean,
usually in another jurisdiction, I was able to choose who we used as insurance defense counsel too. So that's a big, because there's law firms locally that are on those lists.
No, I think there's value in being the owner of the policy. And not,
Right, then, like the ancillary beneficiary,
yeah, like if you own a condo, the condo insurance is owned by the condo board of directors or the management company. Your property gets damaged, you can't go to the insurance company.
you're gonna fight with your neighbors, they run the board. I don't wanna do that.
Good
I've
reason
done
to
it.
be good neighbors.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I ask questions, but in periods when we can afford it, I'm 100% in favor of it. If we didn't have the resources, that'd be a different discussion from my point of view.
And I think historically, that probably was the discussion, right? Because your budget was down on a couple $100, couple 100,000 maybe, a decade, 15 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
60 a year.
Oh,
Period.
wow, okay.
No, 60,000.
60,000.
Wow.
Was your resource.
Yeah, that was what was available.
Yeah.
Right,
Call the question.
let's.
Yeah.
Also went to you.
We have a motion.
You can make a motion if you'd like. Yeah, you can put something on the
Yeah,
table.
well, before we make a motion, I want to understand what the next step would be, because I have the sense that the board may want to move in this direction and they'll confirm it through a vote. What I would like to see is, a proposal for the coverage and the company that we would select, plus the smaller fee for general liability in one place with a set dollar amount and the term that we could then execute. And I would like, Kate, is that something that could be circulated, or would we need to meet in December?
Sure, we can put that together for the official motion in December if you want and just spell it out. and then you would just approve the purchase
Mhm.
and we would do it. Is it, do you know if it's calendar year?
Yes,
for-
it is.
So we could take care of that and purchase it before the end of the year.
So,
Just with the addition of the cybersecurity.
Yes.
yeah,
Could you get that, a quote for the cybersecurity?
Yes.
and if we pass a motion to purchase the coverages on December 19th, that will give us enough time for the policies to be in place on January 1.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm perfectly willing to entertain a motion to ask for that letter for a final vote on December 19th.
So moved.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Chris. They got ahead of you, Dick.
No.
All in favor? Aye.
Just a we're asking for a letter from all the various companies, we're not selecting a preferred firm now.
Well, this is what's
Yeah.
being offered, what's in
Right.
front of you.
But you wanted the additional,
Yes, I want to
Coverage.
see that, and then I think you make a final decision in
Is
December.
bonding included?
What?
Do we have bonding?
We don't really need to, we don't do public works.
No. Fidelity. For Al. Al's got it through his insurance. He's the only one who can.
Yeah,
For cash, yeah.
Yes,
There's not enough in the account yet to tempt me.
but you got it under your, under your,
that's
Zero.
funny.
under your firm. you
Give me
got it.
6 more months, we'll see what I can do.
Under the firm.
Okay.
You got it.
All
Well,
right.
my feeling, my recommendation is that the letter just include the professional government underwriters. I sense a consensus that financially is a better deal. We don't need to deal with Chubb, which is charging $1,000 more for less coverage.
Right.
So let's strike Chubb. We haven't had a discussion about excess liability. And I think we can discuss that and maybe activate it in December. But Kate, I'll be guided by you because we're coming up on,
No, that's fine, yep. We'll put it together for December. We'll have the town's contracts, we'll have the PSEG deal, and we'll have final insurance for that meeting.
okay. So we had a motion and a second, and we were in the process of a motion to request that letter for final approval in December, and we had,
Additional discussion.
right. So let's just revote after the additional discussion in favor of asking for that letter.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
We are asking for that letter. Okay, thank you, Greg. And that brings us to the end of our new business. As Kate said, when we're looking at December 19th, our next regular meeting, we will have this, we will have the PSEG, which will require approvals. We will have an approval form of our services contract with the town. That budget was approved, so really what we've got to go do is change the dates on the document and get that ready for signature. But I do want the formal vote on the services contract, and then I'll run down the hall to David Van Leuven. And the other item that you mentioned that you expect to be on the agenda in December, Kate?
It's my contract and the town contract.
Yep. And also, similar to the town contract, Kate's contract, we approved the dollar amount. So this is updating dates and other administrative, but again, we do want you all to look at that. Any other questions? Any other new business? With a final note to all of our members, as Kate said last month, with December being such a busy meeting, we really do need to have a quorum, given the importance of the business. We want as many members as possible. So we'll be monitoring that so that we can get that business done with approval of as many of the board members. And with that, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Chris.
Second.
Second, Dick, you got there first. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Any abstaining or opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned at 9:03 a.m. on November 14th. Thank you.
Yeah.